this will be the last week of Jim Harbaugh's 3-game suspension. Sharon Moore, of course, leading the way this week as the team's interim head coach. We heard from both of those guys here on Monday at Schembechler Hall in Ann Arbor. And I think the most interesting thing to glean out of it is that more or less both guys confirmed that, there was a lot of talk coming into the year about the Michigan method and rotating guys at tackle and all sorts of things like that. But it hasn't happened yet on the offensive line, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen on the offensive line. Carson Barnhart at left tackle, your guards, Trevor Keegan and Zach Sinter, Drake Nugent at center, and Miles Hinton at right tackle appears to be the starting 5 they're moving forward with. So, fellas, I guess that's where we start tonight. Thoughts on that group of 5? And I guess after a second watch or a third watch, depending on, who you are, how many times you've gotten to the game, what have you seen from this offensive line and this starting 5 to suggest that this might be sustainable moving forward?
Yeah, given what they haven't accomplished in the run game in the first 2 weeks, and it's not just their fault. They talked about the wide receivers. They've talked about tight ends who actually blocked well on Saturday, according to them. And, some of the other guys not doing their jobs, the running backs not hitting the holes. It really is kind of interesting. It must mean that those guys have really separated and that the guys behind them aren't getting the job done, because there really is a lot of room for improvement, and they've acknowledged as much. So I'll be very interested to see how they play this week, but really against Rutgers. Is it part of it? Trevor Keegan's struggled at times. I don't know what his PFF grade was, Clay. You can tell me about that. But, watching his film with some people who know, they say he's not as strong as he was last year in some areas. So will he pick it up when the competition gets better? Is this just a case of these guys playing down to the level of their competition? I don't know. So, but there is certainly room for improvement, because there are going to be teams that are going to try probably to play Michigan straight up in the run game, and UNLV did that at times with some success. Jim Harbaugh said it right. He said way too many negative plays, or plays, not negative plays, but plays that went for 0 to 3 and non-explosives or whatever he called them. And they need to be better in that respect. So they had way too much talent to be this average after 2 games against some cream puffs.
Yeah, inefficient run plays is how he labeled it. In there have been too many of those. Some of it's on the running back, some of it's been on the offensive linemen, some of it's been on the wide receivers. Jim Harbaugh pointed them out today. He said they have to be better in blocking as well. I'm not overly surprised that this is the starting 5 they're going to go with going forward. I thought last week would have been the week where you do it. But when you think of this Michigan method, how they've described it, where it's basically what they did at quarterback last year with Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy, I don't think they've done it at a single position yet this year. Edge, same 2 guys started. Obviously, it's just going to be a heavy rotation there anyway. All the offensive line spots. Corner, you've been banged up, so guys thrust in. Maybe that would have been the one, but they kind of have things set, it seems like, especially when guys are healthy. Miles Hinton would have been the one that I would have thought maybe you give Trente Jones a look last week. I thought Miles Hinton was a little bit better this week, especially pass protection. He did have the one where he got Blake Corum. It was either a TFL or no gain on like an outside zone play to the right, and he just totally gets chucked by his guy, and that can't happen against UNLV. Maybe it could happen in the Pac-12, or maybe you can block like that in the Pac-12. But I think even Rutgers, like, these guys are going to be physical come the Big Ten season, so they got stuff to clean up. Sharon Moore was only back for his first game of the year, so it should improve going forward. And we've seen a lot of these guys play a lot of football here, so once they get that chemistry going, I think it'll improve. But it is a little bit odd that they haven't been able to fare a little bit better, especially in the run game.
I guess right now my biggest question would be, and the fact that a guy like Trente Jones, like, we've seen him actually, play a little bit as that 6th offensive lineman. It seems like he might be that first guy off the bench right now, but we saw him. It was due to injury, but kind of phased out of the lineup at the end of last season. So I guess the fact that he's not being rotated in as much doesn't surprise me. The one that surprises me is Ladarius Henderson. I mean, the buzz on him coming into this year was that Michigan brought him in with the goal in mind that he was your opening day left tackle. And I know there was some academic stuff, not academic stuff like in a bad way, just had some work to finish up at his old school, but didn't get to really practice or participate with the team until fall camp. And the fact that he hasn't really been out there is, I don't know if concerning is the word, but it's odd to me. And maybe that just speaks to how well Carson Barnhart has played as well. But Weird that we haven't really had a chance to see him out there.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's competition, and that's why, you know what, we all assumed, right? Okay, well, Carson Barnhart can't play left tackle, so they need to get somebody in there who can. And they go out and get Ladarius, who's been a great teammate, by the way. Hasn't raised a stink about it or anything else. But Carson Barnhart has played well enough to solidify that job. And it really started early in camp when Jim Harbaugh said that nobody's been playing better than Carson Barnhart. So that was our first clue that, hey, you know what, Carson Barnhart's that guy. He's playing better than expected. So we'll see how he fares against better edges and if they're going to have to maybe give him some help over there. But as of now, he's doing okay. And those ends for ECU were pretty good football players. So you hope to see Carson continue to play well. Would love to see more opportunities for Ladarius. But you know what? Like you said, they're going to play those top 5 guys. And as of now, it is who it is.
Yeah, I said it coming out of the spring game when we saw Carson Barnhart over there at left tackle that, yeah, Ladarius Henderson's coming in the summer, but he's going to have to win that job. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Carson Barnhart. He does look better than he was a year ago, just the way he's moving, his athleticism. I think there's a noticeable difference. So give him credit, a veteran that was like, hey, I welcome the competition, but I'm going to keep this job or really take another job on the left side. So there's that. There was also the picture Michigan posted, I think on the first day of fall camp, of Ladarius Henderson kind of in a pass set. And I remember texting it to my brother, and I was like, "Man, I hope he's a tackle. You know, he doesn't look that much like a tackle." And then I kind of been thinking the same thing the first couple games when he's been out there late in the third quarter, early, or for all of the fourth quarter as well, and some of those limited snaps with the reserves. He played guard most of his career, so in hindsight, again, it's hindsight's 2020. It's not that surprising that Carson Barnhart has hung on there. But yeah, just interested to see. I mean, here's the thing though. Teams go through the year and a guy will get banged up or a guy won't play that well. You can still move a guy in the starting lineup. You could put a guy in the second quarter, and see what he has. So it's a moving, living organism, as Sharon Moore said, the depth chart. So I think, if guys aren't playing well, this is not, set in stone.
Yeah, and like I said, over the course of a season, the rigors of a season, guys are going to get banged up. I think at the time that they brought him in, because if I remember correctly, wasn't it before the new year or wasn't slightly before the college?
Yeah, it was like mid-December. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like part of it too is that, okay, in an ideal world, he's coming in, he's competing for that left tackle job, but maybe Trevor Keegan leaves, maybe Zach Sinter leaves, and we just think that this guy, if that's what happens, has a chance to be in our top 5. And as it turns out, everyone's back. So that could be part of it too. Something to watch moving forward. And again, not so sure that, with more games and more film, that's ultimately going to be what determines who stays on the field or not.